So you guys did Birthright Part 1 and then Birthright Part 2? Or you did...
Yes, we did them both together, and we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. I am so pleased to be broadcasting again. We had a problem with our holographic communications. It was taken over by some rogue program, but fortunately, my crew is really talented, and they were able to purge the virus program, and we pulled out all the holographic emitters, and we've replaced it with old fashioned screens. So Sean, it's nice to have you.
Well, you may have downgraded, but I've upgraded because as you can notice, as I can walk around in my room
I
now
noticed
because my,
that. That
my,
was
my, my
cool.
Bluetooth headset is working,
That would
is now working as Bluetooth.
that would be a great opportunity if you ever had a chart and wanted to get up and go through points. Like you could actually do it now with your
No,
headphones on.
the real modern person has a laser pointer,
Oh, that's
you
true.
know? A
Or
point,
a phaser pointer.
a phaser pointer, yeah, just blast holes through your wall. Point
Boom.
one.
So we are back and we're talking about Starship Mine. And yesterday we did talk about Birthright Part One and Part Two. You were asking, and that was a lot of fun. I did want to devote a minute or two on your because we tried to do Birthright three times together. And I know you have notes. So if you want to give like a supplementary material to Birthright,
Actually, I think we tried to do Birthright together, but before that, you had already tried to do that because I said I couldn't come on for the double feature,
that's right.
and you wanted to do it with someone else, but then something else happened, and then I came on and I tried twice. Then so ultimately, it's fitting that Gary comes in. Like when people are up to too much shit, Gary comes in and he replaces us.
Are you trying?
Like
Are you trying to say Gary is a superhero of Starfleet
he
Boy?
is,
He
he
like
is.
he's
He's the
like
superhero of Starfleet Boy. He's like enough with your shenanigans. I'm gonna do this.
I
Move
love
on. Come
it.
on.
I love it. We can have a segment
Let's
where we
not.
talk about the boys later. By the way, just
We
saying.
can. If you want a very quick kind of breakdown of my opinion on Birthright, it's why do we drop everything data related in the second part, which is a bit strange.
It's a bit strange.
Um, and I don't like the fact that Worf tries to push his warrior ways on everyone because to be Klingon doesn't necessarily mean to be warrior. I find him
Right.
very kind of narrow visioned, and I
What
think
are
the
you
episode
doing
is,
plowing these fields? You are a Klingon!
and I think
Why
that
are you
when you're gonna eat,
sculpting a sculpture? You are Klingon! Don't look
I mean,
at
they have
that
sculpt.
book. It's for girls. You're half Canadian? Ugh.
I think the episode is
Sorry.
all right, but I think it could have been so much more, and I'm not necessarily sure it deserved like a two-parter.
I am somehow simultaneously repulsed by and attracted to you, Baylor. That's kind of what he said to her.
It's real
It's
strange.
very strange stuff. But it's
Yeah,
good to
I
talk
would have I
about.
would have given it a six, by the way. I don't know what you guys gave it, but
We gave it tens.
you guys are insane.
that's
My
that's what
God.
happens when Gary and Sohail get together. There's a lot of good stuff about the two
I'm
episodes.
bewildered. I don't know what to say. I'm
We were
baffled
able
by
to
this.
we were able to put aside our qualms and
A 10. You gave it a 10 for like that
as a
the
whole
crow sequence?
as a double feature. So the episode one and the data stuff kind of has to be weighed into. I'm not going to explain my rating. I'm just, we don't explain our ratings on
Yeah, well,
Starfleet. We,
can't, you're trying to justify that parts one and parts two I
we
calculated together, but it's not like you did it in both.
wow, the OBS,
All
this
right,
like magical software that I
we're not
use,
here.
automatically compensated for your bandwidth issues by shrinking your picture. You're like really tiny now. Just to There's a technical like a
Oh
technical
no.
break here.
Oh
I don't know
great.
how to fix it. So you're really tiny right now. Let me make myself bigger. See what
Will I
I
grow
don't think so.
back?
I'm gonna make myself huge. Let's see. I,
Oh, okay. I see. Like you're the
yeah,
host. You're the guy that
this is
hosts
gonna
it,
be
so
really weird.
you
I'm
look
gonna
over
put
everyone.
I'm gonna
I
put you
see.
in the corner. Let me see if I can select your. Yeah, there we go. All right, now when you get big, you'll cover me. You'll see when you watch the stream.
I thought we were supposed to be so pro.
When you watch the stream, you'll see. Now it looks like we're actually having like a FaceTime. Do you ever? You don't have a iPhone, do you? Oh, okay. Now
No.
it looks like we're having a FaceTime conversation. So I'll show you. I'll send you a screenshot. You're like you're
Then
like
I think it's the same thing
Ant-Man.
with Skype, isn't it? Like my from the corner.
It's in the corner. Yeah, it's weird. All right. We
Starship
can't.
Mine.
Yes, we can't let the technical problems deter us. So Starship Mine. Sean, do you want to do the summary?
If people can hear me,
Yeah, we can
that's
hear you.
fine. I
All
can.
right,
I can do the summary.
do it. make it make it so. Make it
Make
so
it
number
so
one.
the Enterprise D. The
It's
Enterprise D is
docked.
docked at some sort of space dock because it needs to undergo um basically like a
It's
what is
the
it? What do they call it?
it's a
A
baryon
certain
sweep
like
because apparently when you it's like stat the way I
baryon sweep.
imagine I don't know I haven't looked into the science but the way I imagine it's like all that warping creates like a static field around the Enterprise and every once in a while you have to like de-static the Enterprise, so that's what this is, or any starship
Okay.
actually because it's a service
All right.
station.
So the Enterprise has become a magnet, and they need to demagnetize
Basically
it,
that makes
basically.
sense.
Um, so the sweep that's going to come across the ship is highly dangerous for everything living. So everything alive needs to be evacuated. So crew members, experiments, everything that's alive, everything that's biological needs
And
to be taken off the
there's
ship.
that beautiful. The scene you're talking about
And
is super
so most
beautiful, in my opinion. The opening where he's just like walking through, and everyone's asking him to do stuff, and then he ends up in the turbo lift with Data. That was a great scene.
mm,
So anyway, sorry. Go on.
with the awkward chat. Anyway, and then so from then on, basically what happens is the episode separates into two plots. One where most of the senior staff attend a kind of gathering organized by the guy that's basically the station or something. And so he's a known small talker, but an annoying one at that. He kind of small talks about everything all the time and has a tendency of
Call me
annoying people.
Hutch.
Um, and everyone tries to get out of it. Everyone tries to find an excuse. Captain Picard finds the excuse of wanting to go and ride his horse. I don't know where. I think there's a planet somewhere. Was it? Yeah, I think it's the planet
No,
just
I think it was.
neighboring. So he goes back
Yeah.
to get a saddle on the Enterprise. Hmm. Anyway, he goes back to get a saddle on the Enterprise. And this is when he realizes there's only like 25 minutes before like the baryon sweep begins, and he realizes that there are people on board that shouldn't be there, and he's wondering what they're doing, and it becomes basically Die Hard in space on the Enterprise,
Get off my
where
fucking
Captain
ship.
John Luke Bruce Willis,
Yippee ki
every basically
Right.
terrorist as he
They
calls them,
are. They are. I mean, they're like
uh,
They're like dealers in weapons. Yeah, they're thieves and
they're
they're just
thieves. They're thieves.
yeah.
I wouldn't call them
They're
terrorists. They're
they're
on the
not
ship just to steal
they're
something.
not
They don't want to take
missionaries.
any
They're not
hostages. They don't want to kill
yeah.
anyone. They just
They're
want to
not trying to
steal
take
something
the
from the ship.
trilithium to use as an alternative power source to help exiled Bajorans or
No,
something
no,
like that.
no. Anyway, so he manages to foil their plans, to take them down one by one. Eventually, they get off the ship. They manage to run away with this very highly unstable substance that they were trying to steal. But he, smart as he is, managed to take off the little element that stabilized it, and so
The
they explode,
control
and so he
rods.
killed
That's
them all.
right.
Um, and then all's well that finishes well. The Barion
Y-
sweep doesn't kill him because this is like a race against time as well. There's the Barion sweep that's advancing through the ship as he's taking them all down
Right.
as they're trying to steal this. And yeah, I
Good
think that's
job.
pretty much it.
That's like a really short summary. That's like,
It's a pretty
that's
to the
true.
point episode, I'm gonna be honest. Like mostly on Picard doing his thing. You get a lot of the subplot is Data small talk. Data's learning how to small talk, and so he starts chatting up this other guy that's really good at small talk, and they just go on for hours and hours. Oh yeah, actually, I forgot. There were people on the station
Right.
or on the surface,
Also
I'm sorry,
holding the
on the surface that are also holding all of the senior staff hostage at that reception because that was part of the plan. They had to do that
it was a
for some
it
reason.
was a
I
cool
don't know why that.
episode in my opinion for because it kind of like you don't know where it's going at first. Like in my opinion, it was like kind of just like okay, there's this comedic aspect with the whole small talk, and Data's like,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
He's
he's
got those
like,
expressions down. You kind of think, all right, this is gonna be the like the funny episode of the season, or it's like the comedic thing, the comedic hour of the week.
yeah,
But
exactly.
then
But then it
no, they
becomes
they
an
find a way to
action
make it kind of epic.
epic thing. Did everything work for you? Did you love Picard in the action role, or were
I
you?
find it works. I find it works less now. Like, 'cause when I was younger, I really liked this episode, and I really liked the way he took them all down, etc. I think it works. I don't know. I appreciate it less now for some reason. Um, I don't know. It's just not. It's great, but it kind of feels like we're gonna do our version of Die Hard, and it's not quite as good, right? But
Right. They they
I'm conflicted by the fact that he like literally murdered everyone.
what what else could you do?
Like,
Like what are you talking?
well, I
What
don't
would you
know.
have done differently? Like dragging bodies. The time thing is what makes it hard because dragging bodies to
The time thing's
safety,
what makes it hard.
and he
But then he blows them up. Like he doesn't decide to like let them leave and then oh we'll follow them or I'll contact someone and ask them to like follow these guys. No, it's just blow them up.
yeah. I mean that that was like.
Because there's plenty of instances where they follow people. Like
But there
they
wasn't
always find that
again
like
there
the warp
wasn't any
signature, the
time
warp
like
trace or
you'd have to turn
whatever.
the Enterprise back on, right? Like it was off. It was like they
But
like
there are other
it's
ships.
true.
I
I guess
mean,
it's true. The only thing I could think of is that like
it's like he
the
got all no father
the
on us,
yeah
right?
he did the line was drawn. It's true.
The line was drawn.
I think
Little does he know that
here's the wait,
that in 2020,
but I have
when
like
Starship Picard comes out, he will be working with these kind of people.
I have the justification for it though. I have the justification
Okay,
for it.
go ahead.
He thought he was fully going to die one way or the other, right? So there was no way to send a
He
message.
couldn't explain to anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
okay.
he couldn't like there was no time to say like track this ship, we got to like go get it, right? He had to just do something to prevent them from, carrying out their mischief with this trilithium,
He
right?
had to
He
act.
had to act. So in that moment he pulls out the
Okay,
control rod
all
and
right.
so oh you love that? You like you're
Okay,
like problem
I
solved.
can take that. I can accept that.
Picard is
It's all
still a
right. He
hero.
thought
I'm still a
he
role
thought he was
model.
gonna die. That would have been the most underwhelming death for Picard. Like he's gone through all this shit, but then nah, he just
On field is getting close to
you know
him.
what you know what it you know what it is. You know what it is. It's because he gets high, and then there's another scene where he gets a little higher,
Right.
and like ooh,
Like
oh
he's
wait a minute,
like
he can't get any higher after this. This is it.
it's
He's hit the ceiling
so
basically.
good, so good. And Patrick Stewart, he's like it kind of reminded me a little bit of the scene in Star Wars where Luke is yelling. They're in the trash in A New Hope. They're in the trash compactor, and
Hmm.
Luke's like 3PO, turn off the trash compactor in section whatever. It's like that. It's like somebody shut this damn thing off. It's me. It's Picard. Like he's just hoping that like a lowly end. This is like a great Lower
You,
Decks
you,
tie-in,
you
like a lonely
you know
ends.
that they hurt him the first time. It's just that it takes a certain time to do, but he just keeps on yelling at them. So there's this one guy that's just he's dealing with the controls, trying to do this quick, and he's got Picard screaming at him, "Shut it down! Shut it down! This is Picard!"
It's
That's
true. It's
stressful.
true.
Right?
Um, but yeah, it were
Man deserves a day off.
so I thought his reason for killing everyone worked. And
Fair
he
enough.
didn't have fun killing Tuvok. Like that was not, you know.
So the funny thing is, it's Tim Ross. We
Yes,
have
Tim
a
Russ,
special guest appearance by Tim
which was
Ross,
awesome.
aka Not Yet Tuvok. But he get like Picard gives him the Vulcan nerve
I
pinch,
know he does. I noticed that actually. It's in my
which is
notes.
which is a really cool because
He
I
knows
mean
it.
it makes sense that now Picard knows how to know all these things. He's got the mind of
He's got
Spock and Sarek and
he's
everything.
got
So
the
he's
Katra.
he's got the Catrio. So he's all Catried up. So he's ready to Vulcan nerve pinch. But then it's funny because he Vulcan nerve pinches um to be Tuvok.
By
So
the way,
I love that.
I often try my hardest to kind of like defend Star Trek Discovery, especially since I'm on the hype train now. I love it, right? Like, so could that be a justification for Burnham knowing all these extraordinary things? Is that she has Sarek's Katra from when she was a little girl? So it kind of gives you this other perspective on her Mary Sue quote unquote isms when you look at it that way.
I think it would add a certain element, like a certain, for example, Trill or like a symbiote element where, Isri or Jadzia stuff because of like the previous lives of the previous hosts.
Right.
And so this is kind of like Burnham probably has a lot of the knowledge from
What was
from
knowledge?
from don't you remember that guy from YouTube? He's just like flashing his Lamborghinis and cars
Oh my
and
gosh. I've
big
only
house, and he was trying to teach people like it's all knowledge. I wake up in the morning and I read books, and like it was all a scam because he's renting the house. Well, he was leasing the house for the video, and then the cars were just everything
Oh
was all
god.
fake. Anyway,
It sounds like you have a
um,
lot of time to watch really fun things on YouTube that I don't.
oh well, that was years ago. That was years ago. I don't YouTube as much now. I limit
Knowledge.
my
I'm
YouTube
gonna
to Star Trek content now.
How would I even search for this video though on YouTube? Do I just type in knowledge Lamborghini guy? Like what is like what's the search for that one? And is it like knowledge like KNAA? Knowledge.
Here it is. If you type in knowledge meme, there's a
Oh,
video
okay.
with like 69 million views. Here's my garage official Lamborghini, knowledge and books with Tyler
69
Logan.
million views on
The
on
thing
this
is,
video.
his video, his,
Wow.
his video used to be an ad as well, so it used to like play in front of other videos, and you couldn't skip it. So you just sitting there watching this guy go knowledge,
We have
his
to do
power,
that
whatever.
on Starfleet Boy. We should do like a you can't you have to watch this video ad. like
Terrible.
no
It's like
audience.
a compulsory ad for like The Expanse, something that comes on every time you
That's
want to watch a
amazing.
TNG discussion.
69 million views. Well, I will find this knowledge meme and I will be ready for you next time.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Anyway, I
um,
find it, yeah, it kind of justifies certain things about Burnham's, capacities and knowledge, but then Sarek's not like an engineer or anything, so it
well,
doesn't
we
justify
well,
everything.
Sarek's like, we don't really know. I mean, there's a level. Okay, I sure, but she went to Starfleet Academy and she learned about engineering, and she's like,
Oh yeah, no,
and
absolutely.
stuff like that to have like, in terms of like negotiation and like other. I don't know. I would think that that's a way that like
Hmm,
she,
maybe,
because remember
but then
she
I
does
would
go
say that
down in
like
season one
the
to
the, the
negotiate with real Vok or or mirror version of Klingon Vok or whatever, like.
she's the least apt person on the ship. Like that's the only thing she really can't do. To be honest, like we call her Mary Sue, but the truth is she cannot negotiate for shit because she's a very aggressive and like well, she's very defensive. She's always on the attack or whatever. Like she's not a people
It is
person, right?
weird that in the beginning she is
She like
now.
you
I
talk to her
think I
about
think
like
the character's transformed into season 2. I think she's like a whole different kind of vibe, but like I agree 100%. Season 1 Michael Burnham is failing constantly, but I think that's part of her. I think that's intentional. I think that they built in these like things
I
where
think
she
nothing is intentional. I think what they want, I think they just
Whoa.
change her. They change her character. They change her character and personality based on what kind of story they want to tell in the moment, and it's not
You get
Yeah.
the final
All right.
word.
Whatever.
You
The
get the
character.
final word because this is a discussion about TNG. So I won't argue with you any further because we got triggered there.
Speaking of character development, the good character development here is the funniness of Data, right?
The funniness of Data is great. I love that they did that. Also, I think like we learned things about um all of them a little bit more throughout this whole season. Like I think season 6 so far it's been very revelatory, like learning about Data's dreams and Soong and like Worf, going deeper into his like uh
And his
on his,
standards.
his standards. It's true. Like, no, I think it's funny. But I just like that opening scene. I think that this episode was also just like really well directed. Who directed it, by the way? I didn't write that down.
I got no clue. Actually, I know I got no clue. Starship Mine. We'll find this
While
out.
you look for that,
Give props to the man who
yeah.
directed this.
I think it's.
Directed by Cliff Bole.
Oh, okay, very good. I think he's a regular, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah, the small talk
Yeah,
stuff.
he did 25 episodes of TNG. He did like plenty of episodes of Voyager, Deep Space Nine. He's a TV director, so he did like MacGyver, Fantasy Island, Charlie's Angels. Yeah. Hmm.
I was doing the Data impression. You missed it.
You were doing the data. I got that. I got that. That
It
was
was
funny.
so good.
I like that. I appreciated that.
I like that.
He does look like a creep though, because he's creeping around behind poles and shit,
But the way it was shot
just
was so
pulling off these expressions and
the way it
imitating
was
him.
shot was so funny. I was laughing out loud, and my mom was like, What are you like laughing at?" Because she was like doing something else. She wasn't really watching, and I was like, "No, nothing. It's just a really it's just really well done."
It's
And
fun.
I just also like how the character of Hutch is someone you kind of, even though he's super annoying, it's like you're like kind of wanting to know more. But I feel like lower
Yeah.
decks came to mind when I
Okay.
saw this episode. I imagine that like those are the kind of personalities
Oh, absolutely.
that you'll meet on on like lower decks. Like,
The thing is, we follow a very professional crew in TNG, but you can assume that a lot of the people in Starfleet have their own quirks, and they're all kind of weird in their own, because everyone's
right,
weird in their own
everyone.
way, right? And then so you follow all these people on the Enterprise, which are all very kind of strict, and they do everything in a very professional manner. But it's fun to think like when they come into these stations or like these planets, or they arrive at these other Starfleet areas, and like all of these other people are kind of strange, you know? They've all got their own thing going on. Most of them are half breed. I'm sorry. Most of them are of like mixed race,
Wow.
of mixed species. So
If you
like
were
if you're from
a
like two different,
I have
completely
a
different
question. I don't know if
cultures,
I've ever asked you this, but if you were any
uh,
species, you can't say human, but any species in Star Trek, which would you be? Is it Andorian as I'm yeah.
I think you know that. I think you know, yeah.
You
Okay,
are
Andorian.
you're a classic Andorian type of person. Like I imagine
Mm.
you're tall, Sean. I've never met
The
you.
funny thing is, in a, in a, wait a minute. I'll try to find this in feet because you guys aren't too good with the centimeters.
Oh, you don't use the stone? Like I'm 4 stone
So
or 5 stone?
s- si- 6 foot. My grandmother uses that. I'm 6 foot.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're definitely taller than I am, and that's taller than average. So
The funny thing, in a world where everyone searches for representation and they try to identify to like whatever character I or they feel represented, whatever, I feel like I very much identify to Shran a lot of the time, like the Andorian from Enterprise. Like I like the way, or maybe it's just because I love the character, but I love Andorians. I find them to be a very interesting species, and I like the fact that they're from a moon. They're not even from like the main
yeah, it's
planet.
true.
That's really cool.
I really think we need a Andorian. It would be really great to have an Andorian, like a full time Andorian character on Star Trek, if it's on Discovery or
Mm.
I really love obviously
I agree.
In
I forgot.
Picard it's cool you see that we're going to get to like really know the Romulans in a different way or like deeper, you know, and like there's
Mm,
the really mystical seeming but played by Evan Goria, um uh the Romulan character that is on the band of, you know, you were saying earlier that basically Picard is going to be working with these people. But I hope they're not like that. But they're definitely space pirates in a way. But it is a cool setup.
I feel like that. Like I feel like the show's gonna start off with everyone's kind of on the same level. Like everyone's kind of like morally gray. We don't really know what to think of them. But then eventually, as the show goes on, they'll show their true colors, and some people will like move towards the kind of what we consider Picard
The
to be like
light.
the basically an example of what a
Right,
human should be,
exactly.
right? And so some people will go in his direction, while others will kind of maybe just get tied up in all of the horribleness that they're planning or whatever. Like everyone's in this for their own
Correct.
motives or whatever. Because the plot was basically they have to go and find this artifact or something. Um,
What I
we'll
like
see.
is
I'm very intrigued. Star Trek Picard.
we do get
Mhm.
later in season 7 that episode where Picard is on a pirate ship as a like he's pretending to be a pirate, and then Riker
Yeah.
gets kidnapped or whatever, and that so it's not his first rodeo.
Yeah, no, and I think it's an episode that stuck in a lot of people's minds, and they kind of like this kind of rogue archaeologist type of Picard. So I don't know. I think it'll
What
work.
in this
What was
episode?
it called? Gambit.
Oh
Was it?
yeah,
Was
that's it.
Gambit part one
That's
and
it.
part two?
Right. And going back to this episode, what did you think of the writing outfit that Captain Picard was wearing? did
I don't
did you
know.
watch this with Sarah?
Like I don't know.
With Mrs. on the tube? Did she have any comments on Picard's outfit?
She, she didn't really have any. Well, I mean, her only comment was, "Oh, I remember this one." So she remembered the episode from when we did
Nice.
our TNG watch. But I don't know. She didn't. What did I write? What did I write? I wrote that everyone was so polite because there's a Worf and the Worf and Geordie scene where they have things to tell Picard and they kind of go at the same time. And then so Worf says after you, Geordie says after you, Worf says after you,
And
Geordie
then
says
Picard's like, "We
after you
don't have
again.
time for
Picard's like,
this,
enough of
Mr.
this.
Wolf."
Worf, speak. Yeah, we don't have time for this. How they're so polite that they just never end saying after you. Eventually you give up and you're like, fine, I'll speak or whatever, but not these guys, not the TNG crew.
That's an interesting thing that you noted. But it's true.
Okay,
I also like
my
that
problem
in
is,
that same scene,
um,
I don't remember us seeing like some of the angles that they showed, like that perspective of Picard going into his ready room. We usually see it from a different angle, so I like that too. I thought that was refreshing, just on the cinematic part of it.
yeah, I agree. I actually think that if they had, I don't know, maybe this is very complicated to do because I don't know how the set layout is, but I would have liked everything to be done in like one shot. From the moment we start seeing Picard walking to like he enters the turbo lift, I would have had the camera like go into the turbo lift with him, and then the camera back out of the turbo lift, and he walks in a situation or row with, I think it's I forgot what character, but she's in the ready room. Basically, she's no, she's in the conference room. Walks out onto the bridge, and the character's following her, and then she walks into her ready room, and then the character follows her, and the camera just pans the whole way, just follows them the whole
That's
way, and
cool.
I really like that kind of stuff. It must be very complicated for the actors because they have to recall like all of the lines. They have to must be a big setup, but
When
it's worth the
Picard
effort.
gets caught, he's
Okay, so the dude was killed,
which
but he
dude?
shouldn't have been killed, right? The first guy
Tim
is
Russ's
surprised by
character.
the wall of
Oh no,
Gree.
that guy. Oh,
No,
after
no,
the
no.
chase.
Okay, so
You're
it's
talking
the
about after
second
the
guy. Tim
chase
Russ
scene
died.
begins when he like uses the
Yeah,
torch to like create a
yeah.
disaster in engineering.
He, where he went down, and then all of a sudden, like, boof, the green thing comes out of the like from behind the bulkhead, and the guy goes,
Right.
and then he
Well,
dies,
in the
right? Well,
background,
we hear him die, but like you could have backed up. I mean, you could have just
he could have
left.
probably outrun it. Now that I think about it, like
The uh, the the urgency of the moment, like he died because he just stood there going, the urgency of the moment, it didn't feel very good. And I think this is what not a very good action show. And when they try to do action, it's not always great. Like DS9 did the action a lot better.
Yeah, there was more like there was like they built the tension up for longer. I agree with that. But I like this shot where Picard kind of pauses when he hears him scream. Like it makes you wonder, is he like feeling regret, like that he set that up, like that he set up the booby trap and it worked, so like
Well, technically at this point, Tim Russ's character is already dead, but you just didn't hear him scream. He was knocked out.
it's true.
So what happens? Does this completely vaporize you?
That's
Like,
the
does
thing.
this
I wish
molecule you?
that was one of my
Just
notes here, is that
is there nothing
actually
left, or is there like is there mangled body left that they have to go and clean up,
totally a talking point on my notes was I would
or does it just hurt you?
right.
Does it just hurt you? You
Right.
fall to
I
the ground
wish
and
we
that's
could have
it.
seen but I think what happens actually, like in my imagination, is that like it totally like destroys the first layer of your epidermis. So what you end up with is like a charred like so you end up with like a charred, like
Yeah.
awful looking mess of a body uh that then has to be cleaned up.
So everything like skin off, and like you just got the fish and
And it's burning. It's like you're
like
like
it's sizzling.
it's it's sizzling exactly. But I also imagine that the radiation from the baryon sweep kills you instantly. So there's or like close to instantly as possible.
Mm.
So like right after that guy screamed, he probably just like died.
Okay. Okay. So what happens is that we can imagine that the guy actually managed to tried to get away, but he tried to
And
turn around, and so it burned his
that's
feet. That's why he
there you
screams,
go.
and then he dies.
Hurrah!
Hey, look, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why I'm
It's
finding
because you love
excuses
it.
for the episode today.
It's because you
I'm
love
being nice.
it. It's fun.
It's because it's
It is a
fun.
fun
It's a fun
episode. It's
episode.
true.
I'll grant you that.
Um, I just thought that the outfit that going back to going back to, like outfit.
But then, I mean, he's going. He might want once he
Oh,
gets
like
to the
get a
place or
jacket or
wherever it
get some
is.
more.
He there might there might be warmer clothes at the like the stable or whatever, because like you're not gonna put on your basically your swamp attire
It's true.
for the ship,
That's
walking on a
probably
ship,
true.
right?
I do
It's
I
not
do like
practical.
the non-intentional sort of it makes you realize how fit Patrick Stewart and Captain Picard consequently are, and it's like, oh, these guys like they go to like the space gym. We never see the we hardly we see him play, do
People aren't too keen on action Picard. Like they prefer the intellectual Picard over the action kind of Picard. And I think that's part of the problems that people have with Nemesis is like he was more an action-oriented character. Um, but I think it does make sense that every starship captain, like when you get to the Admiralty, they kind of become, some of them are overweight, they're maybe not too fit, because you're on a desk and your responsibilities are very different. Um, but as a starship captain, I think you have to. It makes sense that you know how to fight, you know how to go on like missions and what have you, and I don't know. It just makes
100%.
sense.
Yeah, and
Action Picard isn't what we see the most. We see intellectual Picard, a problem-solving Picard, but it does make sense that he would be able
right,
to do
agreed.
that.
And he's good.
And
I personally like it. I think
it's
Patrick
fit.
Stewart's great as an action star, especially so the fight. Yeah,
I've never minded it. I've never
the fight
minded it.
scenes here were good.
I think it needs to be used delicately because it doesn't necessarily fit too much like the personality of Picard to go in guns first or whatever. It's not really his style. He'll always try to think about this and how can we resolve this in a peaceful manner. But
I do feel like the story supports though that
but
like he became more this way because of the traumas in his life. Like I feel like after the Borg incident, like after the
oh,
Borg,
absolutely.
like
It's kind of like no more messing around with the Borg.
yeah, you
Just
gotta like yeah,
kill them.
he becomes something a little different after that. So I like that. I do think it like totally supports action Picard and like that now he might be a little bit more, a little bit less of a negotiator and a little bit more of a cowboy, so to speak.
Yeah, I hope all this. I hope all these kind of things will be like addressed when we get to Star Trek Picard. Like they address his past traumas, and well, they're going to address the
For
Borg
sure,
thing,
yeah.
that's for sure. But yeah,
Very cool. I don't have anything else in my notes for the episode, so maybe we could do a.
I agree. I have nice dry
Oh
dock.
yeah.
So I write dry dock. I don't know if it's a dry dock or if it's a space dock. I don't know the
I
difference.
think that thing is.
Um,
I mean, like it serves as a docking station, but it reminds me of that the facility in Enterprise that they go to that like supposedly can reconstruct your ship. Remember, it's like either season 1 or season 2. It was very
mm.
similar type of vibe.
So is that a Tellarite facility, or is it just guys that tell him to go to that facility?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I feel it's Tellarite facility, and that the Tellarites send them there, but I couldn't.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Don't
But
quote me
in
on that.
this,
I don't know.
that's what
Anyway,
it
I know
reminded
what
me
you
of.
mean.
It was like
And
that's more of a device. It's huge, but it's more of a device. Like its only purpose is to do a baryon sweep on a ship. So
yeah, this is the
yeah,
specific purpose. So like every week they'll have a new ship that comes in, and they set up their sweep. The
it
ship comes
might
in, they do the sweep, moving on to the next one, and
it
so
might
like
even be every hour. Like it would have been actually really cool to see a line of ships like behind the Enterprise, like waiting, kind of like a car wash. Like you know what I mean? Like who knows like how often the facility works, but I do imagine it's like a daily thing. I don't think it seems like a lot to set that thing up. Like you have to turn off the shit. Like it's like not
yeah, I would imagine it takes maybe it takes a lot of power, right? And it takes a long time to set up, so you can only have like once a month or once a week, and then you kind of have all the ships going on at
yeah.
once. So you kind of like schedule your ships to come in every now and then. Mm. Like how often do they have to do this? Do they have to do this every six
Well,
years? Do they have to do this
well,
every
they
six
were
months?
saying that in the beginning, the one of the lines was that the Enterprise, because of its unusual warp activity, like it uses warp a lot. Like they've been warping a lot more than I guess your average ship does. They had to do it early, so it's supposed to happen like
Mm.
every once in a while, like probably every 10 years, I would imagine.
So it's fun to think that like this episode kind of sets up the fact that like going to warp has a negative effect on your ship. Later on, they'll set up that going to warp has a negative effect on space.
Right,
Well, not it has a negative effect on space.
right,
And so it kind of depolarizes your ship or whatever. And so it's fun to think that like um, warp needs to be used as a necessity. Basically, you can't just go warping around everywhere, or you need to stay at low warp. Basically, I hit warp 4.
right,
It's kind of
right. No, absolutely. I think that's yeah. I love it. I love it. I love that it like also ties into a real problem that we're here's this is so funny. Your picture keeps going huge. I'm gonna whoa, it just got like full screen like all by itself. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy.
it's bugging me out. It's bugging me out on my end because now like in the Skype conversation I have my little box of my face, but it's blinking green and shit
Oh
now.
really? How exciting.
Yeah. I don't know if it's exciting, but
It is. It's like, oh, what are these
it's
weird
interesting.
glitches that occur in the thing? What's funny is that like this is stuff, we're getting used to Google Hangouts. Like for example, I put Gary on the right and me on the left, but today you're on the left and I'm on the right. So
Oh, really? Switching it
yeah,
up.
we're switching it up. We're trying to
Well,
figure
I
it out.
seem to be all over the place, let's be honest. I'm small, I'm big, I'm in the middle, I'm huge, I'm full screen.
before, before we carry on to the probably the closing of our discussion on this episode, I wanted to know if you had any Picard updates or any updates at all, because I kind of rely on you for that. And I haven't.
I'm the newsman.
Yeah,
Well, you know that CBS and Viacom have
yeah.
merged.
So what is that? Is that a big deal? I don't know.
It is. It is a big deal. It's huge. I
Why
haven't
is
looked
it?
into like
But
the
why is it?
exact logistics of it
Yeah.
because I would need to go and check out like all of these news sites that like break down exactly what's happening. But the biggest thing, believe it or not, is not the Star Trek thing. It means Star Trek is all under one roof, which technically now you can have one person, like Feige of Star Trek now, which I'm assuming will be Kurtzman moving forward, but you can have one person that can now basically rule over all of Star Trek, decide, lol, what is canon and what is not, but like mostly decide what kind of movies they're gonna make. Now, like, there's no more licensing issues where they have to necessarily only use the original series actors or whatever. Like now there was a time where like the movies couldn't use the same ships as the show, and the show couldn't use the same ships as the movies, or they had to pay licensing fees. Now all of that is gone. Like everyone can use whatever. It's a shared, complete universe.
But
So
it
that's the
felt
Star Trek
it
thing.
felt
But
like it was like that before. Like I feel like
I know it felt like it, but not really, because all of the ships that you see pop up in like First Contact or anything, you like never see those again in the shows or whatever. They have to design new ships for the shows because they didn't want to pay
yeah, but like ships from the
Paramount.
show were always in the movie, like and then the Oberth class, like the Grissom was in TNG, which started out in the movies. So I feel like at one point there was not that restriction.
Well, there probably was. Well, if you check it out on Memory Alpha, it explains all this kind of
Gotcha.
stuff,
Okay.
how they had all these kind of restrictions and stuff. Anyway, now the biggest thing I think for what they're calling Viacom CBS, which is very creative, um, is the fact that they're gonna be able to like roll out. I don't know if they're gonna change CBS All Access, but now they have like a huge selection of movies, like Paramount movies, that they can throw into the video on demand like service
Oh,
database
that's
here.
exciting.
So I think
And
the idea is to kind of
Paramount shows too. So
exactly you can now
CBS All Access just
Mhm.
became a lot more awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
because it's got all the CW and it's got a lot of things, and now it's got all these movies, Transformers, Mission Impossible.
Oh, wow.
Um,
I'm all for it then.
so
That makes me happy.
yeah,
It's
I
awesome.
mean
I'm a
the thing
subscriber, so
the thing is, you have like Disney Plus, which is huge.
I'm already subscribed to it
Um,
because of Obi-Wan Kenobi. You sent that thing earlier. I'm like ready to go. Take my money.
okay, but the thing is,
Take all my
Disney
money.
Plus itself is going to bring what is it? They're going to bring Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, Disney, and
It's
National
insane. Yeah, it's a
Geographic for
great
some
service
reason.
to be paying for.
And then
It's
they're
true.
also going to bundle that together. You can get a Hulu package with that and an ESPN package with that. So there's just huge amounts of content. Amazon Prime is starting to get like a really, really, really big amount of stuff on there. And then there's Netflix, which is,
Yeah,
huge as usual.
we have a
So it
Prime
kind of felt
membership,
like
so I have Prime, I have Netflix, I have CBS, and now I
it
will
kind of
have
felt like
Disney.
CBS All Access was falling behind. Like CBS All Access, it didn't have enough, but now that they've merged with Viacom, I think, yeah, they'll be able to kind of face the. I hope they're able to. I don't know if they want to rename CBS All Access, but I hope they're able to like have an international release or something
I think it should just
because
be called the Star Trek streaming network. No, I'm just kidding. But
they could basically have that at this point, just like Star Trek. But I think that honestly, when you open CBS All Access, there should be like a link. There should be like a thing. You click on Star Trek and then you enter like a Star Trek page on CBS All Access,
it
which is
is
just the
like
Star
that.
Trek stuff.
That's kind of the experience. We have the Apple TV, so that's kind of how the experience is when you go. It like
Okay,
change. It transforms the wallpaper around it, and it turns
okay,
into
that's fine.
like a page for that. It's pretty cool. Um,
Okay, well, see, I don't have that.
well, you don't need it.
I'm not.
They don't offer it even in anywhere
Oh,
outside. If I'm not mistaken, you can't get.
it's just the US, yeah.
It's the U.S.
But
right?
I really hope they're gonna do this internationally so that like I don't know, it would be I don't understand the marketing decision behind making a video on demand service only available in one country. Like I don't understand that. I don't understand the logistics of that. Why would you do that? It's the same service. Like once your website's online, it's online.
The only thing I could think of is that like data and hosting all these videos and everything is like really expensive. So you having to
But then yeah, I don't know. You're gonna get that money back anyway because you're gonna be like basically
yeah, maybe I don't know.
anyway.
I
It's
don't
gonna
know enough about
I don't
any
know.
of that stuff
Whatever.
because it does confuse me also that like they do the region blocking on stuff like you know it's like you have to do
It's
the same
frustrating. Yeah.
content. You have to do the same content two times with like a different regional
Yeah,
code, and it's like it's
I
really
don't like
weird.
I understand like because many people have many people explain this to me on a regular basis that, they 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 lease out the rights to like Star Trek Discovery or whatever to spin it, or they lease it out to like Netflix in Europe, and so like everyone has to do their own trailers and whatever. But it's just dumb, right? Just put out the friggin' trailer and then put the three logos at the end, right? Like, do you really like? Do you really have to do this? Like, what have one Star Trek YouTube channel, upload all of the trailers to the same Star Trek YouTube channel, put all the logos you need to put on it, so that, and then write down like Europe Netflix, US CBS. People will understand it, and everyone gets
Yeah.
their promotion.
There's got to be a really, I mean, whatever the reason is, it must be because it hinders some kind of money making. So that's what seems to be behind all these decisions. So who knows what it is,
I don't know.
but
Yeah, maybe it probably just comes down to like, yeah, it ultimately probably comes down to money.
yeah.
The interesting thing is I don't know if like projects like Tarantino Trek and that kind of stuff will happen now. Um,
Well, I was thinking about this really kind of like it's really baffling to me. I love it on the one
but
hand, but like
this is not they didn't buy this is not Disney buying Fox. This is Viacom and CBS merging together,
right. So why
which
would
means
that
like when Disney buys Fox, they can cancel a lot of shit and then just like, no, we're not doing this anymore. We're doing it our way, whatever. So like, I was very afraid that they wouldn't cancel like The Simpsons, stuff like that, right? Um, but this is different. This is like a basically two companies coming together, and so I, I would think that everything that they have active kind of still stays active, and all the project that they have online. It's just that they have a different, like the hierarchy changes.
yeah, I
They
guess
need to
that
find
makes
a
sense.
common boss, right?
I mean, I see shows. I was really bummed about the OA getting canceled. That was really upsetting because I really like that show.
Apparently that was fantastic. I need to watch those two seasons then,
Yeah.
if it's really that good.
I mean, if it, what's nice about the OA is that like if it doesn't continue ever, then it's satisfying to a degree what has been presented. But there's definitely more questions and things like that that could be answered. So I would love to see
Well, I'll
more.
tell you what, Rome is the same thing. Rome gets cancelled after season two, right? Well, it gets cancelled mid-season two, so they have to wrap up the story very quick, and like the five last episodes are like a just a jumble of everything that they close it. But Rome remains to this day one of my favorite series of all time. It's only two seasons. I would have loved it to go on for longer, but just knowing that it's just two seasons, I can go back and sit them, like watch it real quick, and I love it. It's very satisfying to me.
It is satisfying. I like that. I like if nothing else ever happened, I would be happy with that one being the only Star Wars
Mm.
movie ever. And so, and you do get that sense of like, yeah, if it just had ended and it was just one movie, it would have still been very satisfying to watch. Of course, it turned
Mm.
into something totally different, but it's
I
very
didn't know
cool.
that. I literally thought he had written one movie. He directed one movie, he made one, and then it's after that he kind of decided to move on with developing the others. I thought that like that was supposed to be self-contained and that was it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is that like episode 4 was designed so that even if no other Star Wars movies were made, he felt like it was like
Yeah, but
it
I
was
didn't even think he had gone through that process. I thought he was just making one movie and that was it. He
Oh,
didn't
I
think
see what you're
about
saying.
sequels or
Gotcha,
whatever.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, he had this whole idea. He developed Star Wars when he was doing a course on the hero's journey. I don't know if you know who Joseph Campbell is, but um
No,
really cool guy. Like I would definitely recommend since you enjoy writing, I would definitely recommend
American
you
Professor.
yeah, you look into his Hero's Journey book, which is really great, and you can find a
Okay.
lot of stuff online about Joseph Campbell, and like his philosophical presentations and ideas. But anyways, George Lucas went
Mm.
through that course and wrote out the whole saga of Star Wars in a rough way. Like he just kind of had the whole story like planned out, and what he decided
And then
was
he detailed the first like the fourth episode basically, and
and like expanded that exactly.
so he had the prequels already kind of set up
Just
in
like
his
yeah,
mind back then as well.
back then he had the whole thing kind of roughly mapped out, and that was I
Guy,
guess
okay, I'm not enough a Star Wars fan to realize that maybe what I'm going to say is controversial, but I think he gets too much shit, and I think that
I
he maybe
agree.
should have been the one to make seven, eight, and nine.
I think he should have at least been a consultant or a producer or like
Also, people
you know.
forget that like I feel like yes, like episodes one, two, and three were very child oriented in a sense, but it's like he did make this for children, didn't he? Like originally, it's a
The
fun franchise. It's not a dark, horrible thing that he's trying to create here.
Yeah, the way that Star Wars resonated with children so much that like he always has had to keep that intention, and I think to a degree, like I don't
And
know,
he's always made kids movies like when you look at everything that what's it called?
I would
Oh,
call them
frig now,
kid
his
friendly, like Indiana
studio.
Jones. Like those films are very kid
Yeah,
friendly, but they're also
everything he directs and
very
everything that his studio produces is very kid oriented.
or kid friendly.
What's his studio called?
His first film THX 1138, which
Lucasfilms.
is actually a beautiful, like it's a masterpiece, is not kid friendly at all. There's like,
What one is it?
it's called THX 1138.
Okay.
It's like a dystopic kind of futurist set in the future science fiction film. But there's like there's like devices that I'll just say that it's just not kid friendly. Like
THX 1138.
yes,
Is this something I have to see? Is this like a
I
classic?
mean if you enjoy weird 70s and 80s science fiction, then or 70s actually in this case,
I can. I can.
yeah, like if you like Logan's Run, or movies like that, then you'll probably really enjoy it. So,
Okay, I
there's
can
a
try this out.
remastered version where he like update. George Lucas always messing with those
Oh my
special
God, yeah.
effects, right? So there's a remastered version, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's like that's the thing that like I think people tend to forget because he also did a film called American Graffiti. That was like another film that he directed. Is like people just associate George Lucas with Star Wars and they think that that was the only thing he ever kind of did. But he had a
Yeah, no,
career.
absolutely not.
Yeah, he had a pretty good career before Star Wars. So, wow, we had that was a good news segment. You caught us up on on the big merger information. So, thank you very much. All right, Sean.
Um, Shout out to the boys.
Shout out to the
Um,
boys. Yes,
before we end, yeah, before we give
a
our
rating.
ratings here, I just want to shout out the boys. I haven't enjoyed a show like a new like this in a while. Truly, there's a lot of uh, like mature content in this, which on a personal level, I don't know if it's always necessary. Um, but it's a great show. It really is. Each episode works on its own. It's not like it's all part of it, but each episode works as its own thing. All of the characters are great. It's very well written. The performances are fantastic. The CG is good. I have basically no negative criticism for the show.
I agree. I think it's great too.
And I
It is.
also appreciate the fact that it's only 8 episodes long. And I would like the second season to be only 8 episodes long. It gives us like short, I don't know. It gives us a more focused story.
Well, it also suggests that they didn't aim for
The plot
the aim here was to tell the story in as many episodes as is necessary. They didn't go overboard.
is necessary.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they didn't like.
I don't feel like nothing is ever filler.
Yeah,
It always feels necessary or interesting, and the like the payoffs, so the plot twists or the reveals, they're all earned. Um,
yeah, yeah. It's
I
very
think
good.
that a lot of shows out there, here I go. I think a lot of shows out there could learn from the boys.
So, who's your favorite character on the show?
Um, I think Carl Urban's character is probably my favorite. And I like Starlight a lot because she is the only good character on the show. Like she's the good. Um, and I can't wait until they brutally kill and murder the Deep. I hate that guy.
Wow.
I'm sure the actor's a great guy.
I
I'm
know,
not.
of course, that's
The
his
goddamn
job.
character.
His job is to convince
But
you that he's
no, the performances are
awful.
fantastic. I think
Yeah,
everyone did a really good job.
the deep.
Um, the
That's
Deep.
a yeah. The show definitely has a lot of shocking things, but I you know I I actually just never felt any of it was. I thought it always like helped to tell the story, the overarching story of like power. You know, unchecked power.
Yeah, that's the
It's like
thing. It
it's like
sometimes can feel a bit gratuitous to have all of this violence or or
Right.
this
Like just
kind of like
because it's
nudity or whatever. But then in the context of the show, it works
right.
because you're trying to show how like appalling or shocking these people can be, or these situations can be.
Right.
So it's kind of like a necessary evil in that sense. And the show is not about good people in any way. But then there's a lot of social commentary in this. I think there's a lot of
Lots.
social
No,
commentary.
it's great. It's a great.
It's not it's the good thing about Star Trek is the social commentary is always like we make comments about this thing and then you kind of analyze what you think of it. It's not very opinionated. Or Star Trek is like often our heroes end up doing the good thing. In this show, it just kind of shows you, well, this exists. Deal with it. It exists in the real world. It exists in our fictional world, and it's horrible.
It
But it
does.
is social commentary nonetheless.
It is. But I think that like very few shows can truly just like be exempt from social commentary. I mean, like I think
Oh
you,
yeah, it's very hard.
it's very
You need
difficult.
to
Like you,
because you need to base your show on real life
real life
things anyway.
anyway. So it's just there's I can't even think of
But
a
this
show. Maybe
the boys is unique, and it's different. It took me by surprise. I waited a long time before watching this because the show came out a while now, and I was thinking, I don't know, do I really need another superhero thing? This is, you know how everyone watched westerns for a while, and then eventually all of the western like classic tropes kind of were like subverted, and the like the good John Wayne hero kind of became the bad guy, or like everyone was morally gray and kind of shifted into this era, and then the westerns died out.
right.
Is this happening to the superhero genre?
Oh, fascinating. Like you're saying, have all those stories of like, have we exhausted all these heroic stories where you're like,
Yeah,
like
and now we're going into like because even they announced officially announced that Doctor Strange 2 will be the first full-blown horror movie of the MCU. So like, are they gonna try and like twist the genre a little and go in these different directions before it eventually dies out? Will the superhero
there.
genre ever die out?
I think Thor has kind of been breaking ground in that capacity to a degree as well because I thought Thor Ragnarok and
Ragnarok's the first humor, like
yeah,
it's the
it's just
first
like they
comedy.
decided, yeah, like and it went head to head with what I thought was unique to Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I was like, oh, this is great, and it makes sense that like the character Thor at the end of is now part of that same group of people, the Guardians of the Galaxy, but not just humor, but
Oh,
like they're
spoilers!
huh?
Oh, spoilers!
It's not just humor. Yeah, it's not just humor. I know we need to get back on track real quick, but just to end that.
Han Solo dies.
So I give this episode a 8.
Okay,
I give it an 8.
I give the episode. I give this episode a 7,
Wow, not too
which is
far
pretty
behind
high.
me. That's high for you. That's it's true.
It's
And
pretty
eight's
high.
low for me. You're expecting me to give a 10. I know it. I know you.
I will. Like at this point, everything's a 10, right?
That's what.
I don't even know what deserves a 9. I mean, like every episode of Picard's gonna be like 12.
When we finally get our database person, we're gonna have a really interesting like at the end of this journey we'll have an interesting like chart that shows all this data, based on our ratings. It'll be very interesting. Uh
Yeah.
well, that was awesome. I think now I'm going to do you have anything to promote before we go, or any new videos or anything like that since the last time
I'm
we were on?
working on a Section 31 video. I want to explain what Section 31 is. I'm going to explain it in like a simple way. I'm not going into every detail. I'm getting back to making videos for people that don't know too much about Star Trek and that want to learn about Star Trek. And I'm doing this before Picard comes out because maybe there'll be Section 31 elements in Picard. There are people, dressed in black in the trailer.
Wow.
You never know.
It's
And
like automatic, like Section 31 is. It's like, but they
there's
will
people
have
dressed in black trying to.
They'll have Starfleet
There are people
badges
dressed in
though.
black trying to capture the girl that's fleeing.
I think
So
they
that
already
that
have
kind of
her. I think she escapes.
okay.
I
So
think in the beginning
but
they already have
kind
her.
of makes sense that Section 31 are the people that are keeping her captive. Anyway, there's a Section 31 show that's been announced as well, and that's coming after Discovery Season 3. So I want to release a video and explain that to people that don't really know what Section 31 is going on, and I think it'll help clarify the current status of Section 31 when the show picks up.
I really look forward to that because even though I think I've seen on every Section 31 reference on
Mm,
screen, it's still convoluted at times in my brain. And
it is.
are you gonna bring in elements outside of from outside of the established official channels, or are you gonna just keep it strictly official?
What do you mean?
What is that word you love? Canon?
Canon,
Is it
canon.
gonna only
No,
focus on
I'm gonna
canonical?
keep it. I'm gonna keep it to what we call canon here. No, I'm gonna keep it to like to the
Right.
shows and the movies,
Gotcha.
basically.
Okay.
I'm not gonna use any. I say it in the beginning of the video that I'm not gonna use any of the novels or the comic books or anything like that because I mean,
Oh, okay.
if I start trying to use all of that to explain things, then I like got my work cut out for me. Um,
And it could all be irrelevant.
to be brutally honest, I haven't read all of that, so I couldn't even like dive into it. I
Right.
would have to start reading all of this. But also, much like the Star Wars kind of um, extended universe that they have, a lot of these or the legends they call it now, um, a lot of things sometimes contradict each other, or they write something that holds on its own, but then like when another movie or another show comes out, then it contradicts that. So it's a bit hard to keep track. I think it's just easier if we keep it to the shows and movies.
I like that too because with the shows and the movies, as far as Section 31 is concerned, there's enough vagueness to for it to work. Like for the Enterprise,
Yeah.
um, Discovery, and DS9 versions to work. So it's cool. I look forward to seeing this video. Very exciting news. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end our stream, Sean. I don't know how this works yet exactly, so I don't know when it ends. Oh yeah,
Well,
it
when you
just
hang up, isn't it?
no, but